how Baltimore just ripped the deal apart. Whatever their motives, a move like this is unprecedented. The blockbuster trade sending Maxx Crosby to the Ravens is officially off the table. The bombshell dropped late Friday night. Reports confirmed that star pass rusher Maxx Crosby was headed to Baltimore for a massive haul of 2 first-round picks. It was a league-shaking blockbuster, the undisputed centerpiece of the NFL offseason, and a trade of historic proportions. From Baltimore's perspective, the logic was undeniable. This was their chance to plug a gaping void on their defensive line, capitalizing on a Super Bowl window pried wide open by their franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson. For the Baltimore Ravens, this wasn't just a big move, it was historic. It marked the first time in the franchise's entire history they had ever parted with a first-round pick for a veteran. It was an audacious statement to usher in a new era under their first-year head coach, Jesse Mentor. But over in Las Vegas, the deal had its own compelling logic for the Raiders. In exchange, they were getting 2 crucial first-round picks to supercharge their rebuild. It was the perfect war chest for new head coach Clint Kubiak to build a fortress around their anticipated franchise quarterback and number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. On the surface, it was a perfectly orchestrated deal. It appeared that both franchises were walking away with precisely what they needed and desired. But then, in a stunning turn of events, the entire agreement shattered. Maxx Crosby is staying put, and this shocking reversal is sending shockwaves across the entire NFL. The timing couldn't be worse. Coming during the frenzied opening days of free agency, a period where hundreds of millions of dollars are flying around. The Crosby deal was supposed to be the colossal first domino, setting off a chain reaction of other signings and trades. Now, that domino has been stood back up, threatening to derail countless other plans league-wide. The entire situation has completely imploded. So the question on everyone's mind is, what on earth just happened? Just days ago, Maxx Crosby was physically in Baltimore, ready to embark on the next thrilling chapter of his already impressive NFL journey. He was on the verge of playing for a true contender, with a legitimate shot at a Super Bowl ring, a prize he could only dream of with the Raiders. But then came Tuesday night, mere hours before the new league year officially began, when the Ravens dropped an absolute bombshell of a statement. The team declared they were officially withdrawing from the Maxx Crosby trade, adding a cryptic "no further comment at this time." The specific phrasing here is critical. By stating that they backed out, it heavily implies a secret, last-minute snag. And soon enough, the inside story began to leak. The consensus from multiple sources was clear. Baltimore pulled the plug because Maxx Crosby had failed his physical examination. And this is precisely where the story takes a complicated turn. It's no secret that Maxx Crosby ended last season on injured reserve. Every football fan knew it, and that very injury was the source of major friction between Crosby and the Raiders, the tension that fueled the trade talks in the first place. Crosby had battled through a painful knee injury for most of the year before finally going under the knife on January 7th. And this wasn't just a minor scope. It was a full meniscus repair, a critical distinction. A simple trim might have him back in weeks, but a full repair, the surgery Maxx Crosby actually had, carries a recovery timeline measured not in weeks, but in months. Consequently, there was never any expectation that Crosby would receive full medical clearance before the start of free agency. This was true even with reports that his rehabilitation was progressing smoothly and ahead of schedule. So this begs the obvious question. The Ravens knew all of this before they agreed to the trade. They knew about the surgery. They knew he was on injured reserve to end the season, and they absolutely knew his recovery would take months. So why would they suddenly kill the deal at the 11th hour? Crosby was in the Ravens facility, mere hours from the deadline, going through the final steps when the entire negotiation between the two teams imploded. This abrupt collapse is why so many insiders around the league are convinced there's more to this story than meets the eye. One theory points to growing frustration within the Ravens organization, a belief that the Raiders may have been less than forthcoming with Crosby's complete medical profile. NFL insider Jane Slater got on the phone with several general managers, and one of them shared a particularly revealing insight. He stated unequivocally that based on Crosby's current stage of recovery, there was zero chance he would pass a physical. This implies that some other factor must have triggered Baltimore's decision. In other words, the failed physical itself shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone involved. That same GM speculated that perhaps Baltimore saw something alarming in the medical scans, or maybe they felt Crosby's rehab was lagging dangerously behind schedule. Yet another general manager placed the blame squarely on Baltimore's shoulders. The narrative is now shifting to suggest the Ravens simply got cold feet, especially after Crosby's agent released a statement declaring his client's recovery is on track and possibly even ahead of schedule. The agent added that Crosby is fully expected to participate in the offseason program and will return as the same dominant game-wrecking force he's been for the last 7 seasons. Clearly, the pieces of this puzzle just aren't fitting together. All signs now point to a last-minute panic attack from the Ravens front office that caused them to kill the deal. But here's where it gets even more compelling. This is not the first time Baltimore has torpedoed a deal over a physical. The franchise has a documented history of this exact maneuver. Go back to 1997, when the Ravens canceled a deal with the Dallas Cowboys. They pulled the plug on Brock Marion moments before he could sign his contract, citing a potential issue with his shoulder. Then in 2018, they voided a 4-year, $29 million contract with receiver Ryan Grant after his physical flagged an ankle injury. And in 2020, their trade for lineman Michael Brockers collapsed due to concerns over his ankle. But this situation is on a completely different level, because Maxx Crosby is no ordinary player. He is one of the absolute elite defensive titans in the entire league, a perennial Pro Bowler, and one of the most relentlessly productive pass rushers in the game. This was a player who would have instantly transformed their entire defense, which is precisely why the collapse of this trade has become such an explosive, league-altering story. So here's the current state of play. The Ravens have reclaimed their 2 first-round picks, and Maxx Crosby, for now, is back with the Raiders. Before we go any further, do me a huge favor and take 5 seconds to smash that like button, subscribe, and ignite the comment section. I'm on a mission to hit 20,000 subscribers before the year is out, and your support is crucial to making that happen. We're closing in on 17,000, but only 10% of you who tune in are actually subscribed, so please help the channel grow. We drop NFL content every single day right here on the Cash Football channel, the ultimate spot for regular fans like us to break down the league. So stick around and back the channel. Now, let's get back to the chaos. The fallout for Baltimore is absolutely massive because just 2 days ago, they were convinced they had landed one of the most fearsome players in the entire sport. And just like that, they're back at the drawing board. Their pass rush was already one of the most glaring holes on the team, a fact their own general manager admitted needed to be fixed. It's no secret that we need to bolster our pass rush and get better there. The best defenses always have one. We've seen that a ferocious pass rush is key, and for a variety of reasons, ours was lacking this past season. We feel very confident that we can address that this offseason, either through free agency or the draft. But as of now, that problem is still unsolved. Compounding the issue, the Baltimore Ravens have already watched 9 free agents walk out the door in the first few days of the offseason. This includes their Pro Bowl center Tyler Linderbaum, who, in a twist of fate, inked a deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been a turbulent start to the Jesse Minter head coaching era in Baltimore, and that's deeply troubling, because with Lamar Jackson under center, the Ravens are supposed to be in their Super Bowl window right now. But in this league, those championship windows can slam shut without any warning. Of course, the Ravens can still pivot and acquire some top-tier talent over the next few months. They could shift their focus to signing another elite edge rusher like Trey Hendrickson, who, despite being older than Maxx Crosby, remains incredibly effective. It's widely believed that Hendrickson is on Baltimore's radar, which might be the real reason they pulled the plug on the Crosby deal. But whatever the logic was, the optics of this situation are terrible for Baltimore. It also brings up a fascinating dilemma. Will other NFL franchises now be more wary and skeptical when negotiating trades with the Ravens down the line? As for how this affects the Las Vegas Raiders, the repercussions are just as significant because, suddenly, their superstar pass rusher is back on the roster, but the team was already rebuilt as if he were never coming back. The Raiders were among the league's biggest spenders in free agency. They leveraged their enormous cap space to bring in talents like Tyler Linderbaum, Quay Walker, Jalen Naylor, and Nakobe Dean, along with Quay Walker and Eric Stokes, among others. Many of those acquisitions were based on the assumption that Maxx Crosby's $30 million cap hit would be gone. Well, that money is now officially back on the ledger, which could seriously complicate the moves the Raiders have already finalized. And beyond the financial gymnastics, the Raiders are now forced to re-enter the trade market for Maxx Crosby, a saga they thought was finished just a few days ago. While the Raiders might still be open to moving Maxx Crosby, finding a trade partner just became exponentially harder. Take a team like the Dallas Cowboys, for example. They were deep in the negotiations, with an offer on the table that included a first-round pick and a second-round pick, plus more for Crosby. But they're not expected to be in the running anymore, as they've already traded for Rashawn Gary. It's highly improbable they'll revisit those talks. it would be nearly impossible to undo that new move. And here's another factor to consider. When one player is red flagged on a physical by one team, other teams might become hesitant to take a chance on him. But it's critical to understand this. Every NFL franchise operates with different doctors and medical personnel. So, just because Maxx Crosby didn't pass the Baltimore Ravens physical, it doesn't automatically mean he'd fail one conducted by the Chicago Bears or Jacksonville Jaguars medical teams. This means the trade market for Maxx Crosby is very much alive and kicking. Adam Schefter has even reported that the Raiders' phones have been ringing with calls from teams gauging Crosby's availability. For the time being, however, the Raiders are preparing to get Maxx Crosby healthy and have him suit up for them this season, though they are entertaining offers. The truly fascinating question here is, will another team step up with a 2 first-round pick offer for Maxx Crosby, or will this bizarre, failed physical and the short-lived stint with the Ravens negatively impact the kind of deals other teams are willing to put on the table? This whole affair is one of the most stunning plot twists in the annals of the NFL. A blockbuster trade that was all but finalized completely imploded at the 11th hour, mere moments before the start of the new league year. Both organizations believed their futures were set. Both were ready to move forward, and in an instant, the entire landscape shifted. Now, the Ravens are in a desperate scramble to solve their pass-rushing woes, with Trey Hendrickson emerging as a potential solution. Meanwhile, the Raiders are forced to figure out their convoluted salary cap situation and once again confront the Maxx Crosby dilemma. I want to hear what you think about this absolute chaos. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is just mind-blowing. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of the video and for checking out the Cash Football channel, the #1 place for everyday fans like us to talk about all things NFL. Please, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. We're pushing to hit 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are getting incredibly close to 17,000, and I need all of your help and support to reach that goal. I'm Cash, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Hey, hey, hey.